The snow fell like silent accusations, blanketing the cracked sidewalk outside Eleanor's tiny apartment building in a merciless white shroud. At 93, with bones as fragile as frost-kissed twigs, she clutched her worn suitcase, the wind howling through her thin coat like a cruel laugh from fate itself. Evicted on the eve of the harshest winter storm in decades, Eleanor Whitaker stood there, her kind heart breaking not for herself, but for the stray cat she'd fed every morning, now meowing plaintively from the alley. Neighbors peeked from behind frost-laced windows, their faces a mix of pity and helplessness. The landlord, Mr. Hargrove, a burly man in his 50s with a perpetual scowl, had delivered the notice himself, citing unpaid rent that had piled up like the drifts against the door. "Nothing personal, Mrs. Whitaker," he'd muttered, avoiding her gentle gaze. But it was personal, deeply so, for Eleanor had lived in that one-bedroom haven for over 60 years, raising her late husband there, watching her children grow and leave, and now, in her twilight, facing the abyss alone. She remembered the day she moved in, young and full of dreams, with Harold by her side, his arms strong around her waist. They'd laughed about the leaky faucet and the creaky floors, turning flaws into fond memories. Now, those walls held echoes of laughter, tears, and quiet evenings by the fire. But times had changed. Her pension barely covered groceries, let alone the rising rent in this gentrifying neighborhood. Eleanor had tried selling handmade scarves at the local market, skipping meals to save pennies, but it wasn't enough. The eviction notice came like a thief in the night, stealing her last shred of security. As the snow deepened, biting into her skin, Eleanor whispered a prayer, her breath forming fragile clouds in the air. "Lord, if this is your plan, give me strength," she said softly, her voice trembling but resolute. A young couple from across the street, bundled in thick parkas, finally emerged, their eyes wide with concern. "Mrs. Whitaker? Oh God, let us help you." The woman, Sarah, exclaimed, rushing forward with her husband, Tom. They were new to the building, full of youthful energy, but Eleanor's kindness baking cookies for them, sharing stories of the old days had won their hearts. Together, they guided her to their apartment, a warm refuge with the scent of fresh coffee and holiday lights twinkling defiantly against the storm. Sarah wrapped Eleanor in a blanket, pressing a hot mug into her gnarled hands. "You can't stay out there. Stay with us until we figure this out," Tom insisted, his voice thick with emotion. Eleanor nodded gratefully, but inside, a quiet despair gnawed at her. At her age, where could she go? Nursing homes were full, families scattered, and distant her son in California, too busy with his own life. Her daughter passed away years ago. She was a relic in a world that moved too fast. That night, as the wind rattled the windows, Eleanor sat by the fire, recounting tales from her youth to distract from the pain. "I was a nurse during the war," she said, her eyes distant. "Saw men come back broken, but kindness mended what medicine couldn't." Sarah listened, tears welling, realizing the depth of this woman's life. Tom paced, frustrated. "This isn't right. We'll call the news, start a fundraiser or something." But Eleanor shook her head. "I've lived long enough to know life's not always fair, dear. But goodness finds a way." The next morning, the storm had eased, but the cold lingered like a bad omen. Word spread through the neighborhood, the kind old lady evicted in winter. People whispered in the corner store, at the bus stop some offered spare change, others prayers. A local reporter, Mia, caught wind and showed up at Sarah and Tom's door, notebook in hand. "This story could go viral," she said eagerly. Elderly woman thrown out in the snow, it's heartbreaking. Eleanor, ever humble, agreed to speak, not for pity, but to highlight the plight of others like her. As Mia interviewed her, Eleanor shared more than facts. She poured out her soul. "I've given my life to helping others, volunteering at the shelter, knitting blankets for the homeless. Now, at 93, I'm one of them." Her words carried a quiet dignity, a resilience forged in hardship. Mia's article hit the local paper that afternoon, tugging at heartstrings across the city. Donations trickled in, a coat here, a meal there, but it wasn't enough for a new home. Amid the flurry of attention, an unexpected visitor appeared at the door one evening. It was Father Michael from the old church down the street, a man in his 70s whom Eleanor had known for decades. He carried a basket of food, and a worried expression. "Eleanor, my child, I've heard. Come stay at the parish house. We have room." She smiled warmly, touched by his offer. But as they talked, Father Michael revealed a twist. "You know, there's a young man who's been asking about you. Says he's from your past, won't say more, but he seems earnest." Eleanor's brow furrowed. Her past? At her age, memories blurred like ink in rain. Who could it be? The priest left with a promise to return, leaving her pondering. That night, dreams haunted her faces from long ago, a child she once helped, perhaps? The uncertainty added a layer of intrigue to her sorrow, a spark in the darkness. Days blurred into a week, the temporary stay with Sarah and Tom stretching thin. They were kind, but Eleanor felt like a burden, her independence slipping away. She spent hours staring out the window, watching snowflakes dance, each one unique yet fleeting. "Like people," she murmured. "We all melt away eventually." Then came the twist that shifted everything. A knock at the door revealed not the mysterious man, but a woman in her 60s, elegant yet weary, with eyes that mirrored Eleanor's own. "Aunt Ellie," she said, voice cracking. It was Lila, her late daughter's best friend, whom Eleanor had treated like family after the tragedy. Lila had vanished years ago, consumed by grief and her own struggles. "I saw the article. I couldn't stay away. You've been like a mother to me." Tears flowed as they embraced, old wounds reopening with healing grace. Lila confessed she'd built a successful life in another state, but never forgot Eleanor's support during her darkest days. "Let me help you now," she insisted, revealing she'd arranged temporary housing in a cozy senior community. This unexpected reunion injected hope, emphasizing how acts of kindness ripple through time, returning when least expected. Yet, the mysterious visitor loomed, unspoken. Eleanor wondered if he was connected to Lila, or something else entirely. As winter deepened, so did the layers of her story, each revelation peeling back the veil on human connection. The arrival of Lila brought a warmth that rivaled the flickering hearth in Sarah and Tom's living room. Eleanor, still fragile from the eviction's shock, found solace in reminiscing with her long-lost niece. They spoke of Eleanor's daughter, Marie, whose laughter once filled rooms like sunlight. "She'd be proud of you, Lila," Eleanor said, her voice laced with emotion. "And of me, for holding on." Lila's presence shifted the dynamics. Sarah and Tom, relieved yet intrigued, welcomed her into their fold. Over shared meals, stories unfolded Lila's career as a social worker, inspired by Eleanor's nursing days. "You taught me empathy," Lila admitted. "Now let me repay it." She coordinated with local charities, securing essentials and even a small fund for Eleanor's future. But beneath the surface, Eleanor sensed Lila held back a secret, her glances darting nervously. As the days passed, the neighborhood rallied. A community meeting at the local hall drew dozens, inspired by Mia's article. "Mrs. Whitaker represents us all," one elder said. "If she can be evicted, who's safe?" Petitions circulated, pressuring the city for better senior protections. Eleanor, center stage, spoke with quiet power. "It's not just about me. It's about dignity in our final chapters." Her words ignited passion, turning personal tragedy into a movement. Yet, isolation crept in during quiet moments. Eleanor missed her apartment's familiar creaks, the photos on the walls chronicling a life well lived. One afternoon, while sorting through her suitcase-faded letters, a locket with Harold's photo, she found an old postcard from a boy she'd sponsored through a charity decades ago. "Thank you for believing in me," it read. A pang hit her. Could the mysterious visitor be him? Father Michael returned, bearing news. "The young man is coming tonight. Says it's important." Eleanor's heart raced, a mix of anticipation and fear. Who was he? As evening fell, snow resumed its gentle assault, blanketing the world in hush. Sarah prepared tea, Tom stoked the fire, Lila hovered protectively. The knock came sharp, echoing like destiny. Opening the door revealed a man in his 40s, sharp-suited, with kind eyes shadowed by regret. "Mrs. Whitaker? I'm Daniel Hargrove, Mr. Hargrove's son." The room gasped. The landlord's son? Eleanor froze, memories flooding. Years ago, as a nurse, she'd cared for young Daniel during a severe illness, reading him stories, holding his hand through fevered nights. "You saved my life," he said, voice breaking. And now my father evicts you? I had no idea until the news. This twist stunned everyone. Daniel explained, estranged from his father due to business disagreements. He'd built his own real estate firm focused on affordable housing. I've bought the building, he announced. Effective immediately, your rent is forgiven permanently, and we're renovating for seniors like you. Tears streamed down Eleanor's face. Kindness had circled back in the most unexpected form. But Daniel wasn't done. There's more. I've been the mysterious visitor Father Michael mentioned. I wanted to assess the situation anonymously. He pulled out documents, a trust fund in Eleanor's name, seeded with donations from his network. For all you've given. The room erupted in joy, hugs, and laughter. Lila, wiping tears, confessed her part. She'd contacted Daniel after seeing the article, knowing their shared history. Eleanor's eviction, once a symbol of despair, became one of redemption. She returned to her apartment days later, neighbors cheering as she unlocked the door. The space felt renewed, like her spirit. Home, she whispered, hanging Harold's photo. But the story deepened. Daniel's involvement sparked broader change. His firm partnered with the city, creating programs for elderly tenants. In quiet reflections, Eleanor pondered life's twists. The personnel auxiliary Lila's return, Daniel's revelation highlighted how past deeds weave into the present. She began volunteering again, this time mentoring youth at the community center, passing on lessons of compassion. Winter waned, but its lessons endured. Eleanor hosted a gathering, toasting to new beginnings. At 93, I learned we're never truly alone, she said. Yet, a lingering mystery, an anonymous letter arrived, hinting at another connection from her past. Who else might emerge? Spring whispered promises as snow melted into rivulets, but Eleanor's heart still carried winter's chill, tempered by recent miracles. Back in her apartment, she savored the familiar, the teapot's whistle, the armchair's embrace. Daniel's renovations progressed. New insulation, a community room downstairs transforming the building into a haven. It's more than walls, Eleanor told him during a visit. It's hope restored. Lila stayed on, helping unpack and sharing daily walks. Their bond, rekindled, brought laughter amid tears. I ran from grief, Lila admitted one evening. But you pulled me back. Eleanor squeezed her hand. We all run sometimes. The key is returning. This auxiliary character, Lila, continued to surprise, revealing she'd written a book about overcoming loss, dedicating it to Eleanor. Sales proceeds funded local shelters, amplifying the humanitarian ripple. The movement grew. Mia's follow-up articles spotlighted senior rights, leading to policy changes. Eleanor testified at City Hall, her voice steady. Eviction isn't just loss of home, it's loss of self. Applause thundered, but she remained humble, crediting the community. One act of kindness sparks a chain. Yet, the anonymous letter nagged. Postmarked from afar, it read, Your light guided me once. Soon I'll repay. No signature, just a pressed flower, a daisy, like those Eleanor grew in her youth. She confided in Father Michael, who pondered. Perhaps a patient from your nursing days? Intrigue built, adding drama to her days. One crisp morning, another twist unfolded. While at the market, Eleanor encountered Mrs. Patel, a neighbor who'd been distant during the eviction. I was afraid, Mrs. Patel confessed, eyes downcast. My own rent struggles. But seeing you fight inspired me. She revealed a group of tenants forming a union, inviting Eleanor as advisor. This unexpected ally shifted perspectives, showing vulnerability unites us. Eleanor's routine blossomed. Mornings with tea and the stray cat, now adopted. Afternoons volunteering, evenings with friends. Daniel became like a son, sharing meals and stories. You were my angel then, he said. Now let me be yours. Their connection deepened the narrative's humanity, proving forgiveness heals. But the mysterious visitor's shadow lengthened. Clues emerged: a phone call from an unknown number, hanging up after heavy breathing. A package with old photos of Eleanor as a young nurse. Who's doing this? Sarah asked during a visit. Tom speculated. A secret admirer? Laughter eased tension, but Eleanor felt a pull from the past. Climax approached one stormy night, rain lashing windows, thunder rumbling like unresolved regrets. A knock echoed. Opening the door, Eleanor faced a man in his 80s, rain-soaked, with familiar eyes. Eleanor? It's me, Victor. Her breath caught. Victor, her first love before Harold, presumed lost in the war. I survived, he explained, voice quavering. But shame kept me away. I'd been a prisoner, broken. The revelation left everyone speechless. Gathered friends Lila, Daniel, Sarah, Tom listened in awe as Victor recounted, escaping, building a life abroad, but never forgetting Eleanor. Your letters kept me alive. He'd followed her story online, compelled to return. I left the letter, the photosto test if you'd welcome me. Emotions surged. Joy, sorrow, wonder. Eleanor embraced him, tears mingling. Life's full of surprises, she whispered. Victor's arrival wasn't just reunion. He brought wealth from his inventions, donating to Eleanor's causes. For the kindness you showed a young soldier. This ultimate twist underscored themes. Time doesn't erase bonds, and humanity thrives on second chances. The group shared wine, toasting forgiveness. Eleanor's heart, once evicted, now overflowed with love. As summer neared, peace settled, but whispers of more visitors hinted at endless stories. With Victor's arrival, Eleanor's world expanded like blooming flowers after frost. They spent days strolling parks, bridging decades with tales. I thought you gone forever, she said, hand in his. Yet here you are. Victor's eyes twinkled. Fate's mysterious ways. His presence, the true mysterious visitor, silenced doubts and amplified joy. The community embraced him. Daniel saw a mentor, Lila a kindred spirit in loss. Together, they organized event storytelling nights where elders shared wisdom, fostering intergenerational ties. Your eviction sparked this, Victor noted. Eleanor smiled. Pain births purpose. Humanitarian values shone. Victor funded scholarships for nurses, honoring Eleanor's career. You healed me once, he said. She blushed, humbled. Twists lingered. An auxiliary figure emerged, Victor's granddaughter, Emma, a young artist inspired by Eleanor's resilience. Emma painted murals in the building, depicting themes of endurance, adding color to lives. Eleanor's reflections deepened. At 93, she'd faced eviction's cruelty, but emerged stronger, surrounded by love. Kindness isn't weakness, she told a youth group. It's the ultimate strength. Her story went national, inspiring laws against elder displacement. As autumn leaves fell, Victor proposed a trip to the old hometown where their love began. One last adventure, he said. Eleanor agreed, heart full. But a final letter arrived. More to come. Who? The mystery endured, promising continuity. In quiet moments, Eleanor pondered life's tapestry, threads of sorrow woven with joy. Her eviction, once devastating, became a catalyst for change, proving humanity's interconnectedness. The end neared, but stories like hers never truly conclude. Bonds forged in hardship endure, leaving legacies of hope.